General Protocol Spaces. Banking on Freedom.
So yeah, we're just going to continue our conversation from last week. Just have a chat about what's going on in Bitcoin Cash and general protocols and uh, related topics. Especially one thing that happened was last week. Our focus was talking about kind of our internal discussion on what native BCH wallets mean and what's important about it and why it's important to us and so forth. But it was a very kind of builder developer centric discussion and got quite a bit of feedback that it wasn't really easy to understand what the hell we were talking about. So I asked Cheap Lightning to join us and kind of serve as a voice of reason to tell us when we're making things clear and when we're not, and maybe just recap a little bit of what we discussed and try to explain why we even talk about this, right? Because there is uh, a correct idea that why do you got to talk about it? Just do something. But it's all part of the same package. We do a lot of things, and this is also something that's very important to us, and we'd like to just talk about it. And we don't know all the answers, so we'd like to talk with other people about it and get feedback on our own ideas. So yeah, this is just a process of public discourse and having things out in the open and making sure what we're planning is clear, and also to understand what other people are doing, and then to get feedback, maybe improve our own ideas. So yeah, there's doing and there's talking, and this is just the talking part. The doing part is also going on. So Cheap Lightning, how bad was it? How bad was the damage last time about BCH native wallets and apps?
He's marked as a listener, so I'm gonna go through and approve him again.
Oh, that's right. He was a speaker and he got cut off somehow. All right. Could you hear all that, Cheap Lightning? All right.
To have been invited to donate my small brain so that I can act as a mirror for people who perhaps are not as
Science.
yes. So when I mentioned I was asked, she was like, "Oh, so they need someone stupid?" I was like, "Yes, that's right." So thank you for that. Yeah, that's great. Anyway, I think again, my knowledge is limited in several respects. I'm not a developer, and I'm also not in the chats with you guys who are deep in this every single day. So there's a lot of reference that I'm not aware of. However, it seems to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, from listening to the last space, the real, I guess, takeaway or key point of the whole thing is that there are goals that BCH wants to accomplish, and there's two ways you can do it. You can do it the path of least resistance, which is like the sort of MetaMask model, which is lots of trust and custodians, and it's really quick. But it's extremely dangerous and also limited. And then there's the hard way, which is basically creating a solid foundation to build everything upon in the future, which will, of course, be more useful and more secure. And hopefully decentralized is that the gist of it.
Guys, I was told he has a small brain. We need to investigate this more before we bring people in next time. No,
more gooder
I'd say
wallets need gooder more.
I'd say that's a pretty good summary. Probably we have some. I'd actually say it's less dire than that. That it's not necessarily that there's a bad way and a good way. It's just that there's what we have today, which is what people are accustomed to calling a wallet, and they're very, very simple. Even on ETH, right? Like even MetaMask, it interacts with things that look complex and complicated, but what the wallet itself does is really simple. And that's true for UTXO chains and for EVM chains. So yeah, we won't really talk about EVM stuff because it's a separate issue. But yeah, it's less dire. It's more of a, hey, look, there's these things we can do with a traditional approach to wallets. And then there's all the things that Bitcoin Cash is capable of, that UTXO model is capable of, and the smart contracts and smart transactions and making bank accounts and vaults and recurring payments and creating a company, investing in a company, making a credit network, all kinds of stuff that's possible. But yeah, getting to that and making a really good user experience for it that's also safe and like you said, a good foundation for like a serious large scale economy, not just random usage. Yeah, making a foundation for that is a significant task that nobody has really uh, breached, and we're taking the first steps on it, right? There's other projects and kind of pseudo standards and libraries and stuff that are emerging, like Wallet Connect 2 and some others that are, in our view, that are steps on the way towards that, and getting us towards doing that. And there's trade-offs at every step, like if you're going to jump all the way to the end, it's an absolutely giant step. But there's steps that maybe we can take along the way. And from my perspective, a big part of why we think it's important to talk about it is just to make sure that everybody knows, if they listen to us, if they believe us, or our story here is that where we're going is far off, and there's a bunch of things left to do as far as wallets and infrastructure and app uh, development to make things accessible, to make it safe, to make it a great user experience. That is still quite a ways off, but it's visible now, and we can see it, and we kind of know what it looks like. It's just I think it's getting down to a matter of details of how we do it and what the steps are to get there. Did that make it worse or better?
You're asking me.
CO.
No, I think that's fine. But again, I have to, trust that your perspective is correct, because I don't think that I can see the bigger picture of what needs to be done, at least as far as like from a technical point of view, right? So, when I think about it, like when I got into Bitcoin, I think the only option at the time was the core wallet.
Yeah.
And which
Yeah.
was also a minor.
Just storing a list of
Right.
private keys.
And it did what I needed it to do, right? It allowed me to buy alpaca socks or whatever, and it also allowed me to get money from people, which is great. But money is especially programmable money is something that has a lot more use and function. And if all of these things are going to be built around programmable money, you need wallets. And I think maybe we need a different word than wallet. I don't like vault. I don't know. That's a different issue. But I guess what you're saying is what we're going to need is something that is smarter, a smart wallet. And in order to do that, you need to lay that foundation, etc. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, that concept of maybe we need a different word, I feel that all the time, because wallet comes with a lot of attached meaning and different meanings depending on what kind of wallets you use. And yeah, where this is going kind of changes, redraws the lines a bit about who's in charge of what and so forth. I'd say one key point that I don't think is too technical is just to say that the important part here is that as things develop, if you're really going to build an economy on a permissionless money system, whatever it is you choose to do is fine. But at the end of the day, if you lose the ability to fall back and be like, look, no, everything is in my control. I'm all non-custodial. I'm in full control of my identity. I'm in full control, or my identities, my multiple identities. I'm in full control of my privacy. I'm in full control of my money, all of my contracts, everything, right? It's non-custodial. Like that has to be there at the foundation, where that line is a very bright line. And uh, if we do things on top of that, like, hey, I don't want to deal with this, so I delegate that to somebody else, or look, my grandma doesn't want to deal with it, she just wants a custodian to deal with it. Okay, sure, you use a custodian, or whatever it is. But yeah, that bright line has to be there, where fundamentally everything has to be able to be in your control. And the wallets we have today don't allow that. That's not possible with the wallets that we have today. And maybe we could give some examples that show, because we have experience, right? We've developed a number of apps and protocols, and maybe we could share some examples that show like where that line is and why it's difficult. Maybe that would be a good thing.
Yes.
So I can more easily share a case where it wasn't very good. Do you remember Hop.cash, the bridge between the smart BCH ecosystem and BCH? When you set that up, you had to approve and make a sign of some specific text. That is an example in my world of a really good situation where the user has no idea what they're actually doing. They press a button and things magically looks like they work just fine, but in reality, the user is not in control.
Did you ever use it, CL, or know somebody who used it, or how that works? Like,
yes, I used it many times.
Okay, does that make sense? What Jonathan is saying, where I think what he's saying is that that line is drawn such that the application, in that case, the Hopcash application, had full knowledge of what's going on, and the user did not, had no way to know what was going on really. They just had to sign a thing and trust that the app was doing the right thing.
Yeah, that seems to be basically how EVM works, or MetaMask, or
Yeah.
anything that follows the EVM path, where you get a bunch of strings of text, and it's like approve, 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 and then your money goes somewhere, and you hope that it's going where you intended it to.
Yes.
And nobody reads what it is, especially people who are not technically inclined. It's also confusing. It's like, why do I have to approve 7 things? I want to do one thing. I want to send my money. Why do I need to approve all of these? The contract, and interacting with the contract, and then approving the other contract. It's a terrible UX.
Yeah, and that's an example where the line is drawn such that the user is really not fundamentally in control. That's a good example.
To some degree, you can consider FlipStarter to also be in that camp, because there is no, like, when the user interacts with FlipStarter, they're asked to copy this weird thing, and then they paste that into a plugin they had to go download. And the plugin itself, it might be somewhat sensible, like it tells people what you're about to do, but you really end up in not trusting your wallet, but instead trusting the plugin. Now, it's also one step closer to how it could look if we are talking about it from the good perspective, except you wouldn't need all the intermediary manual steps. And the wallet we hope to have, that is template-based, would have a template for a FlipStarter interaction. And so you just click or scan or touch or whatever interaction you do with some application you want to use. And the wallet would apply the respective template that it has already learned about and whitelisted as a trusted and safe thing. And it would show the data that is necessary to take the action and explain what's going on based on the content of that template.
Sounds good. I want that now, please.
Yeah. Let me re-describe that in the terms that I imagine it in. So if we were in that amazing nirvana end state or whatever it is, where the users are in full control and it's all safe and everybody's happy, the way it would look is you go to a Flipstarter. And for those who are listening who don't know, Flipstarter is a permissionless crowdfunding. Basically, it's like GoFundMe or Kickstarter, except it's permissionless, and you don't have to ask somebody permission to do it. You can just make a fundraiser and collect funds, but the funds only pay out if the full proposal is funded. And if the whole thing isn't funded, then nothing happens, and nobody's money ever even moves. So the current way Flipstarter works has a bunch of steps and intermediate steps involved to keep it safe, and this plugin he was talking about and everything, and it's a real pain. But the way it would work in that nice state is you go and you look at somebody's campaign, and it's like, okay, that seems like a good thing. I'd like to support that and make sure it happens. And you click a button, and your wallet's like, hey, it looks like you're trying to do a Flipstarter campaign. You know, Clippy comes up, the little paperclip assistant guy comes up, and he's like, hey, it looks like you're trying to make a Flipstarter campaign contribution. It's this, and it goes to this person. And yeah, this person has a public identity. Here's their public identity. Is that the right person? This is the amount that you're gonna pledge to this. This is the expiration date. Does that all look right? Was that what you actually want to do? You know what I mean? And the difference here between here's a blob of just nonsense that you can't understand, and you just have to judge it and say yes or no based on something it's impossible to understand, versus this thing where your wallet itself, not the app, your wallet itself is telling you, hey, it looks like this is what you're doing. Is that right? And do you know this person? And is this the right identity? And you look at it, or you don't look at it, right? Of course, you don't have to, but you can look at it and say, yeah, that looks right. Yeah, that's right. And you say, okay, and your wallet does all the work, and then there's nothing else you need to do. It's all done. The app and the wallet can just talk to each other. That means there doesn't need to be any extra steps. It means the app developer, the logic for their code is very simple because they don't have to worry about building all this shit. Your wallet already knows how to do everything. All they need to do is communicate with each other. Yeah, so from the app developer's perspective, the whole concept of building an app based on permissionless money becomes way, way simpler because all you got to do is pick from like this template store. You know, okay, yeah, we're going to use the Flipstarter template. That's one that everybody already uses. We're just going to use that one. Or we're going to use the AnyHedge template because everybody already uses that. And there's already code available to set those kind of things up. I don't have to worry about building anything. I don't have to know all the details about an AnyHedge contract. All I got to do is present it to my user. Maybe I can dress it up and make it look pretty and explain things better than the template does. But fundamentally, at the bottom level, the user has access to that context in all cases. There's never a case where they just get a blob and it's like, do you trust this? So yeah, Flipstarter is a good example where things could be much better, both for the developer and the user. And then I guess we could talk about BCH both too. But Cheap Lightning, where does that leave you on understanding what we're talking about and where we're going?
Yeah, that all makes perfect sense. Flipstarter is fantastic, but again, it's many hoops to jump through to access, which is probably holding it back. Unfortunately, even myself, you know, I already have the plugin. Excuse me. It's already in my. Sorry, it's already in my Electron cache, and yet, you know, the effort it takes to copy, paste, and et cetera, has certainly prevented me from contributing to at least one flip starter in the past, because I'll do that later, because it's some amount of effort versus just scanning a QR code with my phone or similar. So yeah, all of these things I understand are complex and take time, and hopefully would be alleviated if these foundations are established. And it also sounds like you said that Clippy is going to be implemented in some wallet. So if Clippy's going to be walking me through the process,
it's going to be good.
I'm on board already.
Especially if it's angry modern Clippy. Yeah.
So
Clippy is a character from an old Microsoft failed product that became famous back in the 90s or 2000s, and kind of became a very, very, very early meme.
Animated desktop helper thing.
Yeah. Hey, Jonathan, I have an idea for another concept here, just to help illustrate. Well, wait. Before that, the flip side of doing Flip Starter in a easier way, right? Because right from the start, when we published it, everybody's like, "Oh my God, this user experience is horrible. What are you doing?" And we're like, "We know, we know." It's like that on purpose, not to have a UX that's bad on purpose, but because this deals with very large amounts of money, in the tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and there's no way we're going to cut corners. And the only way to be safe with this is to have like a kind of double interlock to make sure that the user knows exactly what they're doing and that they're pledging their money in a way, and there's no room for like a website hack to just be like, aha, just kidding, send all the money over here. So that was very, very important to us. But the flip side of all this talk is that there are very easy ways to make the user experience better on any app, like Flipstarter, BCH Bull, the Emerald DAO that Bitcoin Cash Altus has done, the BCH Guru stuff, BitCats. There's much easier ways to do it, and that is to go custodial, right? Or to go partial custodial, where you kind of slide into, well, we could spend 6 months developing a bespoke app that's safe. And to be honest, users never ask about safety, until the money's gone. We could spend 6 months doing that, pay for a bunch of very high-powered developers to make a bespoke app or a bespoke plugin that does all this stuff exactly like we want, and it's all non-custodial, and the user experience is kind of shitty, but it works really well. Or
no, we can't.
We could take a few shortcuts. Well, I mean, better than like, for example, Flipstarter.
Yeah,
right?
if we made a Flipstarter app that did all the things within that app, then the user will still have the money in a wallet somewhere, and moving that money over to the Flipstarter app makes the Flipstarter app custodial. The only way to achieve non-custody through the entire chain is to have a wallet that actually understands Flipstarter if you want to do Flipstarter.
Yeah, exactly my point, that you can make the user experience easier if you sacrifice some very, very fundamental things.
I'll also jump in here and say that we already do sacrifice some custody in order to achieve an acceptable user experience. If you look at the BCH Bull, when you fund a contract, there is a private key inside of your wallet, inside of your browser, that is in custody of the funds for like 1, 2, maybe 3 seconds before the contract is funded. And so right now, we're already like making bad choices and bad trade-offs just in order to get things off the ground. I'd much rather see a good wallet come out that can understand templates so that you can remove all that crap and actually have a non-custodial solution.
Yeah, exactly. That was exactly the thing I was going to ask you to explain. That all went very well, I think. Yeah, the BCH Bull, which we spent an incredible amount of time on, right? To make it a reasonable UX and present things reasonably, make it easy to understand. But all those presentation things are relatively simple. The part that took for absolutely ever was making it so that it works non-custodially. as much as possible. And even then, like Jonathan said, we had to take some shortcuts because there is literally no other way, unless you want to. There isn't another way. It's not like unless we did this. There's literally not another way to do it. Does that kind of is that line drawing a little bit? Does that illuminate things a little bit, Cheap Lightning? Like where BCH Bull already has to take shortcuts?
I'm not sure what you mean by line drawing. There's always going to be some kind of compromises, or not?
So compromise on the user being in control of their funds and their identity is something that I think we can't compromise on. That's what I was saying at the beginning. There has to be a bright line there that in the end, the thing that we aim for, that we want to reach, is that there is a very bright line. And at the bottom of every app and interaction that you do, if you want it, you can have complete control over your identity and your funds and your smart contracts and so forth. So that's something that you literally cannot do today. You can't. It's not possible because we don't have native wallets. Does that answer your question?
Yes. I guess for not for myself, because obviously I understand, but for everyone else who could possibly be listening, what is the definition of a native wallet?
It's the one that can do that without compromising. Is the abstract answer.
Help.
It's the one that knows how to talk to the app, and the app knows how to talk to it, so that the app doesn't have to be like, hey, I know you don't understand how to do this type of, I know you don't understand Flipstarter because you're a simple wallet, like you're a traditional wallet. I know you don't understand that. So I've done all this stuff over here to let you, interact with this app. But all this stuff is fundamentally a form of custody, where you're telling the wallet, trust me, I know what I'm doing and you can trust me. And just send your money to this QR code and everything's going to be okay. That's where the line is today. You cannot really do better than that.
You mean approve, right?
Yes, approve. And the flip side is where we're saying if you have a native wallet, that doesn't happen. The app says, hey, I'm doing AnyHedge, this template. And your wallet looks at it and it's like, oh, I know that one. I already have that in my trusted list from the template store.
Yes.
And I know what that means, and I know how to deal with that, and I know how to present that.
I'm cutting you
to...
off. So you're already talking about pre-established templates for certain applications, et cetera, as if this is something that exists or will exist. What does that look like? So we're not talking about wallets. We're not talking about plugins. We're talking about wallets that can already understand certain smart contract types somehow. How does that work?
So this is something that Jason Dresner has done an absolute ton of work on already. But if you've ever heard people talk about contract templates or contract scenarios, the summary of it is you can have, let's just talk about a single smart contract, like an AnyHedge contract, which is the simple case. A template or a scenario would talk about, provides like a complete context for AnyHedge, where it says, these are the things you can do with AnyHedge. You can make a new one. And when you make a new one, these are the relevant details. Who are you making it with? Do they have a known identity? And these are all standard things that you would be able to look up. Your wallet would be able to look up. Who is this? Or do you care who this is? Maybe you don't care. It doesn't matter because all the details are there. So it depends on whether you are forced to do KYC or not. Whatever your decision process is. How much money is going into the contract? How long is the contract? What's the leverage? Who's on which side of the contract? These are like the details that are in a template. These are context for an AnyHedge creation. And the template includes all of those kind of details, human level descriptions of each of these things. And so when you're creating one, your wallet has already approved this template, and it says, okay, I believe that this template is solid and it's reliable. Version 123.4 of this template is solid. And so when it presents that information to the user, if they want to look at it, then that's all on the user's side. They didn't ask anything from the app. The app didn't tell them the transaction. The app didn't tell them, didn't tell you, the user, didn't tell you all these details. All they gave you was their own details, and you're able to construct it yourself.
So
and then there's other templates, right? There's templates for, okay, how do you pay out an AnyHedge transaction, or how do you end an AnyHedge transaction early, or how do you enter a Flipstarter pledge? How do you cancel a Flipstarter pledge? And all that knowledge and human level context is already on the wallet side.
So that would be pre-baked into the wallet, or there would be some kind of like BCMR that stores templates, or?
Yes, it would probably be BCMR for templates.
I'll ask this. It'll be a mixed case. So all wallets are going to be doing things the way they want to do things. If you want to offer someone a super high secure wallet to store like millions and millions of dollars, then you don't want that wallet to learn new things sporadically, right? So such a wallet would have a very, very small list of pre-approved whitelisted templates that it can work with. For example, a pay-to-public script hash template, allowing them to send funds in the first place. On the other hand, you could have like a developer's tool kind of wallet, like, let's see what we can do in this ecosystem. And that wallet might not even have any predefined templates, and it might even have an auto-approve on whatever template you give it, and then it can do whatever it gets a template from. And the template can come from anywhere. Or you could walk some kind of middle ground. So you have a grandma-centric wallet, and the wallet devs, they look at the ecosystem every now and then, they see what's popular, and they handpick a bunch of templates and say, we're going to ship this in the next version, or whatever. And then if the user comes across a situation where they need to use a template that isn't in that whitelist, the wallet might say something like, hey, I see you're trying to use a template that has the name woobity woobity, and I'm sorry, I don't understand woobity woobity. If you want to, I can use this template, and you can take your action, and that is fine. But this is not on my list of pre-approved and secure templates, so you're doing it on your own risk. Would you like to continue? Yes or no? Which gets us back into that approve scenario, but with a situation where the wallet can at least give you a technical presentation of what's going on. Like, these are all the data I am providing, and this is all the money that is getting moved. Does that give you a clearer picture?
Sorry, I got sidetracked with the woobity woobity.
Woobity woobity.
I lost it.
That's gonna be the name of It's gonna be the name of our next Twitter.
Absolutely love it.
Woobity woobity.
I want to see if I can make this a little easier to understand. So basically, like, your wallet would be like a smartphone, and it would have like an app store, and it would be able to download appropriate new apps to do new things that you want to do with it. Is that sort of right?
That is one way.
Yep.
But the App Store could just as well be a website on the internet that ranks contract and gives you like 5 thumbs up or whatever. Or when a user has a phone and you have a phone and they want you to do something, they can pick a contract or whatever they want to do. They can put in their numbers, and then you just touch the phones together, and a template and initial data has been transferred over, and now you have a template that your wallet can use. So the distribution of these templates is agnostic to where and how it's being distributed. The important part is that whenever a wallet receives such a template, it is able to, one, tell you whether or not this is something that you have used before, right? Is this something that you know is working? And to tell you whether is this something that the developers are trusting, is this already baked into your wallet? And that it tells you as much as possible of the human meaning behind the contract, and that is something that is listed inside of the contract, so not entirely trustworthy, but it at least gives you a much better starting point than please sign this long string of hex characters.
Okay.
Yeah, and also this is one view of how it could be. Nobody's made anything like this yet, right? So there's certainly other potential ways to approach it that we probably haven't thought of. This is just one envisioning of how it might be. Like you said, like a template store. And those aren't apps. So this gets into some of the other first principles stuff that's in the linked article that I put previously, where General Protocols published our thoughts on native BCH wallets. But this is getting to the technical side a bit, but these templates have to be very dumb. They can't be smart things. They can't be a bunch of complex code and have your wallet going off into the wild wilderness of the internet and doing random things on the internet. That's very, very dangerous. So these templates have to be simple, very primitive things that let you fall down to that bottom level of I have full custody and I can see absolutely everything that's going on here if I want to. And if my wallet wants to present things in a prettier way for famous or popular apps, sure, that's great. But at the bottom level, I know that on my side, on my team, I can look at anything I do and I can kind of drill down just very easily and be like, wait, is this really? Okay, yeah, this is going to the person I think it's going to, and it's interacting. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
So most of this discussion is theory, right? There is no current wallet that is able to do anything like this, and the foundation cornerstone has not been laid yet. Is that correct?
Mostly. There is no user-facing wallet that does this. We have been working layer by layer from the bottom and up in order to sustain or support that kind of wallet. And Jason has been working on the templating engine, or a templating engine, I should say, because it's not certain that it's going to be the best templating engine. And the end result is that if you're really, really technical, then Jason has a command line utility you can do that showcase interactions with such a template from a command line wallet. But there is nothing user-facing, and there is no clear communication protocol for transmitting these templates. It's all like manual command line stuff at this point in time.
Yeah, and this is why we're doing, we are doing, right? Like Jonathan said, we're building up layers of this slowly and at a time, and also building up experience, right? Because until we built Flipstarter, BCH Bull, Hop.cash, until we had the experience of building all those, it was very abstract. We're like, hey, I think there's something wrong with traditional wallets. I'm not sure exactly what it is. But after we've built, multiple apps and had lots of users, then we get a much clearer picture of, okay, these are the decisions where we have to compromise, and that's not good. It's not good that we have to compromise here. And if we didn't compromise, the user experience would be horrible, or impossible, or just literally like, oh, give up, we can't do that. So yeah, we've gained experience and knowledge, and yeah, we're kind of in the middle of a heavy on talk, and the do part is still pretty low level, but we think it's important to talk about it so that we keep moving forward, so that we keep aiming high and moving up all together. We want to keep encouraging people to look up and keep moving to a better place.
Is the hope that people will, other developers will listen to this and decide to get on the same page and keep these ideas in mind when they start developing projects going forward, or are you? Uh,
Yeah, yeah, there's that. Uh, but we also aren't saying we know exactly what the endpoint looks like. But I think we can say very confidently that there is a better endpoint out there somewhere, or multiple endpoints that we can get to, that are going to be better than where we are today. And what we're doing today is taking steps, what we hope is towards that. So yeah, or I'll just speak for myself. I'd like to convince developers that what we're doing today is steps, not an endpoint. And not only for developers, but for users too, right? I want users to look at it, to look at Bitcoin Cash and say, hey, when I do a savings account on Bitcoin Cash, or when I do some kind of crowdfunding for something on Bitcoin Cash, I know that because of the way things work in Bitcoin Cash, that shit is always under my control. My identity is mine, my money is mine, my knowledge is mine. I don't have to ask anybody for permission to do any of this. I want that to be like a target where users want that. Like, yeah, that's what I want. Of course, that's what I want. And to understand that we still have steps to get there. It's going to take some work to get there.
I see. So it sounds like wallets are currently dumb. BCH has the potential to do a lot more, and in order to get there, the foundation needs to be laid, which is what you're proposing and working on doing now, even if other projects don't follow the same path. At least for GP-based projects, the foundation will be there. Is that correct?
We're going to go there. Yeah. And in others, we also totally recognize that others are taking a different approach, right? They don't necessarily agree with everything, or like, for example, I think, I don't want to speak for Celine, but I think Celine Wallet has more of an idea of the smart plugin, where you take your wallet, which knows how to do stuff, and you trust it. It's on your side. It's your team. That's very important. This wallet is my team. It's on my side. And then the wallet has plugins that know how to do, okay, here's the AnyHedge plugin. And then the wallet can like show you AnyHedge contracts and look for AnyHedge contracts on the chain and enter them and whatever. And so then it's kind of the wallet and this complex plugin that you put into it, that they're able to work together and do something without going to a website, without having to go to BCH Bull or something like that. Or it has a Flipstarter plugin or Flipstarter version 2 plugin. So they're taking a different approach, but they're both going pretty much in the same direction.
Let me jump in here, because it's not immediately clear it's not going to be immediately clear to a lot of people what the difference between a template and a plugin is in the context of this conversation. And I'll say it like this. A plugin for a wallet like Celine would not be functional as a plugin for another wallet. So whenever you build support for one thing, you have to build it over and over again across a wide variety of wallets. And when you make a plugin this way, you also either are limited by the wallet makers whether or not they accept that plugin, right? If they're gonna support it, you're also setting yourself up in a situation where like the plugin interfaces might change in the future, the wallet might upgrade and whatnot, and across different wallets, this can quite quickly become a situation where it's ad hoc and it's just best wallet wins with the best one feature they have. But when you're talking templates, it would be a well-defined thing that different wallets may support, but the definition of the template would never really change, so to speak.
Yeah, and a templated system is very generic. Like I said, it's very primitive, right? So if you went to a website, an app that's on a website, you could, okay, you go there and and you can interact with that, and your wallet's on your team, and it knows how to talk to that website without giving any information that's unnecessary, and keeping a clear personal boundaries here, where it's like, okay, this is my side, that's your side, we talk across it. So it could do that, or it could build it into itself and be like, hey, we don't even need to do that, we can just look on chain and see what's there, and let's go find contracts and search those up, and well, here's a bunch of contracts, and you can deal with it without even going to the app. Or you could say, hey, we're going to aggregate all the contracts that are made not only at BCH Bull, but anybody else who's doing this, and we can look all those up ourselves. Or we can go to the Cauldron Dex and we can look up what's available there. And because now you're talking standards in terms of the template is just a primitive thing that everybody knows how to communicate with that template.
Yeah.
And so that makes it available anywhere, not just in some particular format that the wallet wants to show it to
So
you.
related to that discussion, I'll also add and say that in the entirety of the discussion so far, we've talked about these templates as being a wallet-specific thing, but they actually don't have to be, and there's a lot of power that can come from using them outside of a wallet. If you're looking at the current ecosystem we have, there's CashScript, which compiles a high-level contract language down into the actual script that is being run on chain. And a CashScript is essentially a template. And so on the BCH Bull, for example, we are running and doing CashScript related functions on your browser when you're using our application. And we would essentially be able to move over from CashScript to using these contract templates, which in turn would likely use CashScript underneath based on how it's being built. And what that would do, it would simply just add human meaning and explanations and documentation to the contract, to the CashScript contract, allowing us to use that either inside of a wallet or inside of a web app. It's not specifically something that has to be like a wallet-only feature. And why is this meaningful? Well, try to make a smart contract application on a website and not use CashScript or Spedden or some other contract compiler. It's doable, but it's more work. Now, enter these templates that abstract out a lot of more of the work and make it even easier for developers to build with. And you get to a point where it's faster to build apps. It's faster to build wallets. It's faster to iterate the entire ecosystem towards a peer-to-peer, non-custodial economic system, instead of having every single party needing to develop their own tooling and their own essentially stack all the way up from the script to the top.
Yeah, Chipang, can I say something?
No. Please.
So, just I wanted to tack on to that before you responded to it, is just that I really can't emphasize enough how expensive it is to make a good app, a good user experience app on UTXO on Bitcoin Cash right now. And it's the reasons are very simple. You need very high level experienced developers who know what they're doing. You absolutely cannot bring in someone who is kind of like, oh yeah, I've heard of smart contracts and I'll figure it out. There's a lot of things in modern software and programming and apps that you can just jump in and be like, I'll figure it out. You cannot do that. You have to know what you're doing, or you're just gonna completely melt piles of money. So you have to know what you're doing, and then you have to develop this whole bespoke app and infrastructure around making contracts and communicating contracts, and the app telling wallets what to do, and figuring out both sides of the equation, like the user side and the app side, and maybe some service side or whatever. It's all very complex. There's no way that a real economy ecosystem can explode from that, right? It's not possible. It's too expensive. The bar is too high. So if this is my opinion. If Bitcoin Cash ecosystem really is serious about reaching global scale, it's not an option to end up in one of these good endpoints where we have this bright line between the user side and the app side and services, and there's a very clear line of responsibility and ownership. Because once we do that, that simplifies everything. It allows everybody to just develop their part and not worry so much about the whole picture. Don't have to worry so much about safety because it's baked in to the way the whole thing works. Once we do that, the cost of app development goes down. That means you can hire a developer who's not a super, like 15-year expert on whatever, and they'll be able to develop an app for you, and you don't have to worry that much about whether you're gonna screw things up.
Yeah.
And then we can start to experiment with what's possible.
I think it's getting hard to keep track of our entire conversation in Cheap Lightning's head right now. So I'm going to stop you there and let Cheap Lightning talk.
Yeah, I already forgot the thing I was going to say before. But so it sounds to me like if we really boil it down into something really simple, it's basically creating a new standard or new standards that can be utilized across everything being developed as far as wallets and things that want to interact with wallets. Is that correct? So this is not like a consensus change. It doesn't affect the protocol, but what it is sort of creating a set of standards for apps to be built upon in the future. Is that right?
Or discovering those standards, but yeah,
sure.
But because we don't pretend to know what those standards are, and we don't pretend to say, okay, we're going to make a standard, and then everybody agree to it. Like nobody's in a place to say something like that. But yeah, it's fair to say that we should end up there. Yeah.
So it sounds like the danger is if these standards are not created, we'll end up in a similar situation to the BCMR versus CRC20 thing that sprouted up, or everyone sort of fending for themselves as far as development, as you said, creating bespoke things, or possibly people just defaulting to basically the EVM standard, and that's interacting with MetaMask and their clones and plugins like the new Thorchain, whatever, which is then trusting giant strings of text that are not user readable. Is that right?
Yeah, or trusting giant blobs of code that or whoever has written. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Okay,
I'm on the same page.
Good summary. Good summary.
But before we leave that subject, I kind of want to go a bit technical.
Oh no.
Yeah, I see that at least some of the people we have listening right now are actually like programmers or know a bit of programming. So the NHedge library does for NHedge the same work that this templating engine would do. Now, for the NHedge use case and the NHedge use case alone, it is more than 200 kilobytes of code. That is considered to be a very large code base. It's not the largest in the world, of course, but it's definitely very, very large by most standards. It took us 2, maybe 3 years to get to the point we are right now with it. And if someone wants to build something like NHedge today, they would have to replicate roughly the same amount of work and build their own tooling of roughly the same size. And that is a very high cost. I wanted to put that number 200 kilobytes and 3 or so years worth of development up front there, because if we go down the path and choose like the EVM chain model where all apps get to do this, then there's very little ability for us to reduce that cost. And so new applications are going to take longer to get compared to the alternative if we were to successfully build a templating engine and a wallet, where if you want to build a new app, you'll grab that templating engine, you'll write yourself a template in a couple of weeks, maybe, and then most of your work is front-end user interface design, and not much work at all is going to go into development of this script tooling.
Exactly. Yeah, a couple of years, a handful of years versus a handful of weeks is the scale. Seriously, is the scale of the difference we're talking about between the two.
So what is I guess the biggest hurdle that is being faced right now? Why is this not like, why isn't everyone rushing together to work on this?
I honestly think because okay, I'm gonna make myself unpopular here, but that very few people have made UTXO apps, like a full-fledged, user-focused, good user experience, not janky, mostly app that covers all the edges, that covers all the corners, that's smooth. Because once you do that, you start to face all these issues, and you either go custodial or you say, fuck, we need something better.
I'll point out that we haven't touched all the edges yet, but
for our app, sorry, for our app.
But we have built FlipStarter, which touches a very specific edge. We have built Hop.cash, which touches a different edge, and we have built the BCH Bowl. And all three of these projects have been relatively successful. Now we're trying to share our experience and our vision for how we could do better in the future. But I'll go back to the question, why hasn't it been done yet? And I don't think it is only because we haven't spoken up and shared our view. I think because doing this is a long-term effort. This isn't something where you can run a hackathon for a week and then you have a cool wallet and everyone's happy and it's functional. We get to leverage Jason's work, and he's been coding on this on and off for years, which is good. But why or where can you find someone and tell them, like, hey, you're a good developer. Stop doing what you're doing today, right? Take that opportunity and put it aside. Now, without any money, without any funding, and without any external effort at all, please spend at least 9 months or 12 months or whatever in a focused and concentrated effort to build this cool technology that we want. You hear that it's very unlikely that people are going to do that, right?
Yeah, I can also say, like, maybe more basically, why is it hard to make? Like, why would it take 9 months? That kind of gets into some of the technical details. That's a little bit hard to explain, or maybe I could explain it at a high level, but I need to think about it more. But I'll give you 2 examples of that maybe help. So one is, anybody who knows Jason Dreisner, he's a genius. He writes code like a machine. He writes good code like a machine. Maybe could use some more documentation for us small brains, but it's very solid code. He's been working on this, like Jonathan, just to emphasize, for years. And in a quite, like, on and off, yes, but also when he works on things, he works on them hard and deep, and he does a lot of work. So he's been working on this concept for years, since before BCH existed, right? It's not especially easy. There's a lot there. So that's just a appeal to authority for an explanation of how hard this problem is.
I can
because nobody's done it before. That's one. And the other is just that it's a new thing that nobody has actually done before. An EVM, why can't we just do like EVM does? EVM takes a huge shortcut, which is why EVMs don't scale. all that state is stored globally on the EVM network. And so apps can be lazy. They don't have to worry. Wallets and apps can be lazy. They don't have to store so much. They can just be like, I don't know, just go look at the chain and I can get all this shit off the chain. And that's part of what makes EVM easy to develop for, and part of why it's, in my opinion, never going to scale. So yeah, those are two perspectives
Let me,
on the question.
let me jump in and ground this in some reality numbers here. So I said that we have made three things at GP, essentially. We made Flipstarter, we've made the Hop.cash bridge, and then the BCH bull. Now, Flipstarter went from nothing to functional concept in like 2 weeks, and then it went into a functional product like 4 or 5 weeks after that. Flipstarter was developed in a very, very rapid fashion to meet a very hard deadline. Look at where Flipstarter is today. Flipstarter is a horrible user experience, and people are trying to fork and make variations of Flipstarter to fix their own pet peeves, and it's not making any significant world-breaking progress. It's not going anywhere right now, and it's not even accomplishing really big goals. Like, it could be so much more if someone could spend a lot more time on actually making it into a good product. That takes time, right? The proof of concept is relatively quick. Now, Hopcash, it took us 4 weeks, I think, to get the first thing out, and then another 2-3 weeks to get it somewhat polished, about 2 months. Hopcash doesn't exist anymore. But the BCH bull, it's 3 or so years in the making. We have continuously improved over all this time. We're talking about multiple people's full man hours. It's a lot of effort and work. But we're also with it at a point where it's doing millions and millions of dollars in actual usage, right? In total locked volume, or money being put into contracts, or whatever you want to measure it. Now, it takes time to build really good things. So if you want to look at it from a practical perspective, like you have some numbers to compare to.
Did we answer your question at all?
Yes. Yeah. It's difficult and expensive and complicated and somewhat abstract and requires coordination and as usual, the someone problem. So somebody has to pull all of these pieces together somehow. So.
But most importantly, it's doable and it's valuable, and we should do it.
So I just want to add a little bit more to this conversation, which is something that's perhaps a little bit more sobering. So a lot of what Emergent Reasons talk about is can be summarized basically into improved trust models and improved security. And I mean, security is the foundation of everything. And if we improve this, you in the short term you get improved security on things and improved trust model. And in the medium to long term, you can totally imagine that because you got an improved trust model, it can enable a bunch of other things. Like you can have people, because you can have people trusting templates instead of domains. That means anybody can host an app. There's a bunch of possibilities coming from that. But in the short term, it still boils down to basically security and trust model. And I mean, a lot of us have been in crypto for a really long time. We know how this thing goes. Literally nobody gives a damn about security. Literally nobody. People would not pay $5 for more security if it means it slightly inconveniences them. That's just the reality. So it in this case, it gets even worse because it not only is a case of paying $5 more for security, it also, if you are an app developer, if you want to spend this all this effort to go the less popular way, it also gets in your way of earning profits, especially if you are trying to clone something that already exists. And that is a hard problem. Someone who wants to tackle all this needs to invest. It needs to invest a lot in either providing in the infrastructure so that people can conveniently use it, and hence evening the um, evening the cost versus the status quo, or they will need to go do some medium to long term application that is enabled by this model, so that it's not just security, which literally nobody cares. And both of them are hard. Neither of them are easy. So
And then after
yeah.
doing that, then hoping or convincing others to do the same thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's there's a lot of heavy network effect, and like we were talking about previously, ossification involved that is quite dangerous if we allow it to set in.
Yep.
So it seems like if this foundation were able to be laid and there was a I don't know which wallet would jump on it, but let's just assume the Woobity Doobity wallet gets made, and the Woobity Doobity wallet can use these templates, and the I don't think ecosystem is the right word to use, but the system is in place with documentation, and it's clearly easy to get up and running with these new templates. Wouldn't that theoretically inspire other wallet teams to investigate it or implement it themselves?
One piece missing.
Sure.
Okay.
You need one use case with a high volume and high demand. You need to demonstrate the value. But after that, you're right.
But that can't be done unless the foundation is laid. So it's kind of hope, unless you guys have plans to create that use case.
If we get that foundation available, we'll jump on it immediately and make BCH Bull like 10 times better. We'll remove the temporary key, we'll give you mutual redemption, we'll make all the new contract versions much quicker and easier to get into, we'll improve security, improve speed of the application. The entire user experience goes up massively if we get that available. Please give it to us.
Sure.
Yeah, but no, this is it's an iterative thing, right? There's nobody who knows the full answer, right? It's obvious that we're still talking in, we know the outlines of where we're going, but nobody has the full filled in details of where all this is going. So yeah, we're going to iterate on it. We're going to look for opportunities to make use of it, and in the meantime, just talk about it. Maybe talk with other developers, because we don't want this to be a general protocols thing. We think this is literally a Bitcoin Cash thing, not a general protocols thing. I hope nobody sees it that way, because we absolutely don't see it that way. This is something that we think every app and every wallet should be paying attention to and thinking about, because these are hard problems and nobody has solved them before. In the short history of crypto, nobody has solved this problem. So yeah, it's an interesting problem. It's a new problem. That's a big part of the difficulty. It's just that it's new. It's not been done before, and those are gambles. But all of this stuff with Bitcoin Cash and permissionless money is a gamble on our future. from my perspective. So this is just another part of that gamble where we say, hey, we're really going to a different place, and we need something that's a little bit better than what we have.
So
we just gotta get in and do it.
Not to put you on the spot, you said this is not a general protocols thing, but as we are all painfully aware, everything needs an owner to drive it, right? So is
Yes.
the intention of doing these spaces and starting this conversation also an indication of GP owning the push to make it happen, not owning the code? Is that your intention, or is it just like, hey, this is something that should be done? Bye.
Yes. If we can sort out the resources, time, money, to do this, it's like you named it, right? Just making the stack, or this kind of proto standard, just an attempt at a standard, an iteration on some kind of inter app, inter wallet. And if making that yeah, okay. Yes, we want to work on it. We would like to do that, but we have to do that standard, the app, the code. We have to have a use case that, like Jonathan said, is massive. You have to have something that is worth a huge amount of money that will show everybody, look, like, seriously, this is better to do things this way. The value is not only in security and safety, it's in user experience and ease of onboarding and bringing people into the ecosystem and bringing people onto the permissionless economy.
We do have a couple things that we are cooking way back in the kitchen, but those are not ready to be shared yet.
Yeah, they're way back in the kitchen. But yeah, we do have some of those. But yeah, maybe we will own our app that we're going to develop, or some kind of thing that we're going to propose and look for support for, or whatever it is. But it'll be sad. Honestly, I think it'll be sad if it's just us doing it and there's no public conversation about the difficulties that everybody's facing. And there's no conversation about, yeah, how should we solve that? How should we solve state management? Because state management is something that wallets have never had to do in crypto. Not really. How do we do that? What do we think about libauth v2, Jason's thing that he's cooking up and has like alpha version out of? Like, is that going to be the thing? Do we need to give Jason feedback? Has anybody tried it? So yeah, I think it would be very sad if it was just us owning it and that's it. So yeah, this conversation from my perspective is yeah, maybe we're going to own something that we're going to experiment with. But yeah, let's all talk about it. It's an important topic to keep our eyes up.
So being a bit meta, the purpose of these conversations is, I guess, awareness, bringing awareness to the fact that the topic exists. Because really, before the first Twitter space, I had some inclinations that there may be some thoughts on these kinds of ideas, but I had no idea that people were working on it and taking this idea seriously. So is that your intention?
Yes, that's one. Yes. Awareness and just putting ourselves out there, right? Because GP has never been very public with a lot of communication beyond, social media marketing. So just also to put ourselves out there a little bit and have a conversation. I've invited Jomar. I'm sorry, I just looked at the app. It didn't give me a notification that some people were wanting to talk. So I've invited Jomar from Peitaka to the stage. Jomar, can you do mic check? Are you there? And there's also Nostranska, who I will invite also.
Am I on?
Hey, Jomar.
Hi. Okay. Thank you. I'm happy to catch this Twitter Space because usually it's in the middle of the night in here. So good to see you around here. Um, I'd like to say something about the conversation regarding the native wallet stack. And I actually appreciate that General Protocols pushing for at least to discuss these things in public and wave to everyone that there's a problem here, there's something that we can improve on, and there's something that we can uniquely do as a community, like it's uniquely BCH to emphasize on creating a wallet that is more secure than what is currently out there. And I'd like to say that we at Paytaka is actually seriously um, going to allocate resources to contribute towards that goal. But yeah, currently it boils down to resource and bandwidth issues. But we all have the we all agree that it needs to be done, and we wish that it could happen sooner or later.
That's fantastic to hear. And uh, how about have you guys had any thoughts about, because I said we outlined the way that we see things, but I know that many people have their own kind of vision of what that later thing looks like. Do you guys have any specific differences yet between what we've outlined and how you think it might go, like an alternative view of how it might go, or is it still in the uh, the earlier stages of planning?
Yeah. Mhm. It's also very early on our. We haven't really discussed this internally, but um, I kind of understand the problem. We haven't really just came up with an alternative solution
Right.
as of now.
Okay. Right. Well, it's good if we all know there's there's somewhere there's problems to be solved and we can find some constructive solutions. That's great to hear. That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
yeah, thank you. Nostrand Scott, you had asked for speaker. Was there something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this security versus the user experience you talked about before. And I think that the problem you talked about, maybe we should do something which I don't really think people do. We have to then focus on the user, because most users of today don't give a crap, because they want it be as simple as possible. It's a plug and play basically. Maybe we should have that in mind and build something that is most optimal for security and experience, and building a so-called a golden path to walk upon, and saying, okay, this is what we have decided is the most optimal way for you not to, so to speak, be susceptible to various bad things as hacks and so forth. But if you want to go past that and you want to have more freedom and stuff like that, you can have a pro version, which some apps have, that you pay a little extra for. You get a little more freedom. You also take the risk for it, but you also pay a little bit more for it. That could be something you can walk down. I think that
Yeah,
could be.
yeah. It's a possibility of providing different types of interfaces to people. I think the beautiful thing of this concept is that not only does it become more secure, but the user experience becomes better when it's fully realized. So yeah, hopefully you don't even have to make a compromise and everybody gets an amazing experience. But yeah, that's a possibility. Thank you for the suggestion that
Yeah,
you could
and
make multiple ways of interacting.
I actually have a suggestion I have actually made before. Talk about development or something like that. We have, the flip starter and all of it, but maybe there should be, should think about a fund, a development fund, that people can actually send in money to and like I send in a BCH into development, and you have some people in the community which is trustworthy that knows exactly, okay, this project is needed, they need funding. Instead of asking for funding, they have a fund which is already have a lot of money, and they could actually just talk to those type of people and then get the funding from them.
Yeah, this is something not exactly like that, but for me personally, that I would like to see or to help make it happen, or maybe if I get the time and resources to do it myself, is to start some kind of BCH flavored venture capital. And BCH flavored means, for me, means not having that central pool of money, but having a kind of organization of people and associations and trust where we can divide responsibilities and help projects go from just the idea and building a bare bones thing into a real product and something that's actually out there uh, working for a large number of people. So I'd love to build something like that. However it gets done, it's not been done before, like a distributed kind of venture capital setup. So yeah, I'm very interested in that myself also.
Yeah, so I'm gonna jump in and say you might want to talk with Jeremy of the Bitcoin Cash podcast. He has on multiple occasions expressed a desire to have a Shark Tank like show where people who want to invest in the BCH ecosystem kind of do that as a show thing. It's weird. Maybe that would help.
That could be fun. That could be very fun. Yeah, we could brutalize each other a little bit publicly on our ideas. Yeah, and then find something to invest in. That would be good.
Yeah, if you set up that show, Jeremy, then I can come on at a time or two and act as like a neutral third party to help provide guidance about like technical feasibility or whatnot.
To jump in when there's too much blood. Okay, stop, wait. Okay, all right. I think we've gone on for quite a while. I was actually hoping to get to a lot of other topics and just discuss outside of this idea as well, but it seems that we did need to do a lot more work on communicating our ideas. I hope we got better with that. Cheap Lightning, I appreciate you coming on and keeping asking questions and getting us going in a direction that makes it clear for us and helps us to communicate things and kind of help everybody assess whether what we're talking about is meaningful or worth listening to. I really appreciate your time coming to do that. And I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Cheap Lightning, did you have anything you wanted to say before we wrap up?
No, you are very welcome. I'm a little bit curious what else you planned on talking about that we didn't get to. If you could.
Oh man, I can give you a
please
list.
give me the list.
So yeah, so many things. There's all this BCH wallet stuff. There's the things that are going on, the lower level details of that if we wanted to. I wanted to talk about chips and just the current chips that are out there because that's a very interesting topic. And so the two that would be interesting to talk about right now, I think, are the algorithmic max block size chip and also the new opcodes, mathematics opcodes chips. And then there's also an old chip for increasing virtual machine limits. So these are three that would just be interesting to touch on and talk about our perspective on them, hear other people's perspective. Another one is just various things going on with public conversation that affect GP and things that are exciting to see or very painful to see. Like exciting to see is, all the stuff going on in BCH, seeing BCH and Monero kind of ascending in social clout as the narrative of others kind of falls apart, and rightfully so falls apart as irrational and kind of garbage. So that kind of thing, but then also the pain of seeing, for example, I saw this tweet from Louis C.K. where he's like, "Oh yeah, we all let's do it, let's do the Bitcoin thing," and it's like, oh, like yeah, you got the idea, but man, what a first step.
That was not
to jump on.
That's Louis KC. It's not Louis CK. It's yeah. It's,
Oh, really? That's a different
no,
version.
it's
It's a parody account.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, I got fake news. And but anyway, that happens a lot, right? Not just with him and famous people, but others too, where they jump into something and then they're just like, "Oh shit, hold on," and they, probably fall through the ice if it was real, or just nothing happens if it was fake. Yeah, those things. Local adoption. I just wanted to talk about local adoption because, man, these guys are out there doing so much work all the time, including Peitaka, the guys in Argentina, in Townsville and other places, and our man in Taiwan doing like a one-man army in Taiwan, and all kinds of things going on with local adoption. Just talking about BCH Bull, how it's been going, see if anybody had feedback to say what's coming up for BCH Bull. Yeah, that kind of thing.
I got nowhere to be if you want to keep going, but if you got to bail, that's fine.
I think we probably should keep it a little bit bite-sized since this is recorded, and maybe we'll come back next time, or maybe we'll cut it off here, and then we can just keep talking, perhaps. Before we do that, Jonathan, did you have anything you wanted to say to wrap up?
Well, it's probably in GP's best interest to talk about BCH Bull, so you might want to include that before we cut off. Self-serving,
right,
yes.
Yeah, we don't know how to market, right? Like as Jeremy, who was it that said it was like Jeremy Cheap Lightning and Bennett Tomlin? Like, who was it that said BCH is like the
That's
anti-hype?
That was Uname. Absolutely.
Was that Uname?
It's probably me in the Telegram channel somewhere.
No, you said it on the podcast with Jeremy. With
on the podcast.
Oh, right.
Hype chain.
Oh shit! You have anything before we wrap up? And maybe we'll just extend it after this.
Yeah. But we should. I have nothing else to add other than we should probably still advertise our company stuff a bit before we wrap up.
Yeah, let's do that. So all this work that we've been talking about is for the app, which you can see at bchbull.com. You can go straight to the app with app.bchbull.com, and this lets you use permissionless money to either do one thing, which is basically save, and you can save in terms of gold or dollars, or what are the other ones we have on there? Ethereum, whatever it is. You can use BCH, but you don't work in BCH. You save your money in terms of dollars or gold or silver, and you can save money there for 1 day, a month, 3 months. You can do that. And then on the flip side, the magic of any hedge and BCH Bull is that on the flip side, there's speculators. You can go there and you can speculate on the price of BCH going up relative to those same assets like US dollars, gold, silver. And those two guys working together form a whole. And so they support each other. Speculation and savers are two sides of a coin. And you can go to BCH Bull and you can do either one that you want to do, or both, depending on what your opinion is. So go there and save money, or go there and speculate. And you can do that on a permissionless money network without having to ask anybody for permission or have somebody tell you that you can't do it. So yeah, let's call this the endpoint for the original discussion, and from here on is just informal bullshitting, I guess. At this point, which one of those things sounded interesting to you, Cheap Lightning?
Woobity doobity, absolutely.
Right. Jonathan, tell us more about this killer app.
I am a BCH Bull user. I lost my original account, so all my badges and stuff are gone. I formatted my computer, but I didn't back up my key. What do you call it? Is it a key? Do you guys call it a key? What do you call it?
Account key.
Account key. Yeah, I didn't back it up. So all of my badges are gone, which is a bit sad, but that's fine. My money is safe, but my badges are gone.
Yeah, and that's an important point about BCH Bull, right? That all this work that we've done makes it so that when you have an account there, it's like kind of extra information about your contracts and what you've done, and badges or achievements and so forth. But your money is never on the BCH Bull app. Your money is always either in your wallet, it's on your side with your team, or it's in a smart contract. There's no in between. The company is not trying to get you to put money into an app that then the company goes on the, like other crypto companies do, go on the backside and use it to speculate. There's none of that going on.
Except for the 1-2 seconds when you're funding the contract where it passes your browser.
Yeah, which was the whole point of the first part of this discussion. Yes. There's shortcuts that absolutely have to be made, or it literally wouldn't be possible to make an app.
I accept those few seconds risk. Yeah, sorry, what's next?
I don't know. What do you think about the whole, I get sad a little bit when I see I was talking about BCH and Monero. I used to use Monero and support it, and there was a point where some decisions were made in Monero and some things happened that I was like, I kind of stepped away, and I was like, not for me anymore. But I know other people have different perspectives on it. But overall, it's really hard to find any number of projects, and these two projects are going pretty closely in the same direction, right? And I think that's fantastic. They're actually going towards a very similar goal. And I love to see that. And it makes me really sad when I see people, shit talking and just creating conflict where it's like, wait, it's the same problem where somebody with much more power than you is looking on and laughing, right? Oh my God, look at these guys fighting each other. Thanks for doing our work for us. So I'd really like to see, people look past some of the differences of opinion and just be like, yeah, it's great. Good competition, good cooperation, and good competition to both go towards the same goal. And in contrast, I see BTC where, right, it's just turned into a kind of bloodbath, right? Where they're just fighting each other, and the projects are fighting each other. They've turned inward. BCH has been through some of that in the past, but they're turning inward. They're killing each other. They're fighting each other. There's at least 4 or 5 different
Factions.
kind of camps in BTC factions, and they're all just slaughtering each other. And it's like, oh my God, it's so sad, kind of. Not really sad, because I think we thought it was inevitable, but it is sad to see that for Monero and BCH, for me.
Until you mentioned this right now, I'm not aware of growing animosity between the BCH and Monero camps. This is news to me. What are you talking about?
I can't point to something specific. It's just things that I've seen here and there where it's for me, the ASIC resistance, I think, is quixotic and a red herring. That's a complete waste of time and counterproductive, and takes resources and time and blocks off avenues of growth and so forth. But, if somebody has a different opinion than me, fine, right? It's this is a difference that's neither here nor there when it comes to the fundamentals of where they're going. But I've seen people on that specific point just be like, oh, I'll never touch that garbage because blah, 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 blah. Or people on the who are really into privacy coins, right? What is it? Zcash or Monero, and just being like, privacy coins is the only way to do things. It's the only way. It's the only way forward. And it's really? Is it the only way forward? Can we just maybe there's multiple ways to get there, and we'll see how it goes.
I remember now. There was one Twitter thread about some extremely hardcore Monero maxi who had that opinion, as far as cash fusion isn't good enough because it has to be the default for all transactions all the time. And I think he also went off on how Naomi Brockwell is not hardcore into Monero enough. Yeah, I wouldn't take that seriously.
She's like Monero's
Right.
best ally by
Yeah.
far. Like, how? Why would you?
I wouldn't take that guy
Monero?
seriously. I don't think it's fair to look at any like extreme maxi on any chain and say that their stance is the stance or the majority stance. I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, even just the other day, MoneroStore.com, I think is the URL, wrote on Reddit that they now accept Bitcoin Cash payments, right? So
yeah, that's pretty
that
cool.
doesn't. I mean, that seems more like a unifying thing than a dividing thing. I don't.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I still see it every once in a while, and it's just yeah. When I see it, it makes me sad. But I don't know. I just feel like it's worth saying, like, hey, let's choose our allies on average. Like, we don't have to, somebody who agrees with you on every single point. That's a group of size 1. So let's be smart about who we support, and yeah, they're pretty close, going in a very similar direction. But then on the other side too, with BTC, right? I catch myself all the time, but it's always too late by the time I've caught myself. Like, there's blood, and the CTV guys have just bitten off a chunk of the drive chain guys, and then the intern just got sacrificed and cut in half, and then something happened, and it's just comedy to me, right? I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious. But then when I engage with it that way, it's very divisive, right? Where I'm just like, you guys are clowns. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's not the most constructive way to look at things. I think, as Jeremy and many others have said, like, hey, let's just welcome them and be like, hey, there's a bastion of peace and people who have already been through all these fights, and you don't have to go through it. We figured this stuff out. You're welcome to come hang out with us. Just maybe a more constructive approach. But man, that's so much harder than just leaning into and dunking on people. Yeah,
I think
because a lot of those people have the same goals kinda in mind, but they've been twisted by all the necessary cognitive dissonance of being with BTC or whatever it is. So it's tough. But yeah, that makes me sad too. Even when I see myself dunking, and then it's just like, I shouldn't have done that.
Well, there's also, I mean, different levels of people in every camp, right? So the people who, I mean, I've recently started following a few BTC people on Twitter, because despite their hatred for BCH, they say that they want the same goals that we want, right? Which is, new money for the world, right? They specifically say that, versus the other sort of things, which is store of value and number go up. I mean, they say those things as well, but they say those things with the intention of creating new money for the world, and they got lost along the way. And very clearly with some of these people specifically, they don't really hate BCH. They hate Craig Wright, and they hate Roger. And they felt that these people were attacking or destroying Bitcoin, et cetera, dividing Bitcoin. And they have a lot of animosity towards these specific people, not the project, these specific people. Obviously, for anyone who's listening who's been under a rock for the last few years, Craig Wright was ejected at great cost, both financially and kinetically, from BCH very shortly after BCH forked. And for the last, I would say, 2 years, if not more, Roger has been mostly out of BCH. He's not participating in discussions. He's doing his own stuff. And BCH is not about Roger. So if you think that Roger is this terrible person, well, Okay, but he is just a person, and BCH is not his project. He just happened to love BCH, and like the rest of us. So, if you hate me because I don't know, you hate cats or black cats or unlucky or whatever it is, your bias is, that's not a reason to hate the project. It's just computer code. And if you listen to the words that us current people say and what our goals and intentions are, then hopefully you'll see that there is some alignment. And it is entirely possible that the current crowd of BTC people will fade out over time, 50, 100 years or whatever, and then the BTC project may end up back on the course of trying to become peer-to-peer electronic cash. I don't think it's particularly likely, but it is just code, and the code is written by people, and the narratives are created by people, and the people that are involved in BTC could eventually change. I don't think it's likely, but it is possible. If you really want that to happen, well, then you have two choices. You can try and get BTC back on track to the goal of peer-to-peer electronic cash, or help us. Do you want to try and move a mountain, or do you want to, join aligned people who have the same goal? So come on over.
Yeah. Take the road where they already moved the mountain.
Yeah. Couple times.
Yeah. A couple times. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's a good one. Hey, Jeremy, I think that's Jeremy I added here. Yeah, it is. It's actually Jeremy. So he was asking to speak, so I added you on here, man.
Hey, how you doing? It's a beautiful day here in Vienna. It's my first time, and I've just come off the CAT, the airport train. I'm walking along in the sunshine. So if anybody hasn't been to Austria so far in my first 10 minutes, I do recommend it. But it was good to see this space happening, because obviously as the community is growing and there's more momentum, we're just able to have more of this kind of conversation, and that's sort of what makes up a community, really, is just an ongoing conversation. I think from what you were just saying to me, the biggest things are, it's really both the XMR stuff and the BTC stuff, it's all really about maximalism. And it's this quite misunderstood point that I think everybody needs to understand, which is that, as I'm always saying, like, maximalists are good. You want a lot of maximalists. If your coin does not have maximalists, you don't have anything. If you're rank number 100 on CoinMarketCap, the reason is you've got no maximalists. Because if you did, they would be out there churning out work, hyping up your project, doing good, useful stuff, right? Like, the maximalists are the ones who are serious, who put their money on the line, who start big projects and who run meetups and all that stuff. So that's actually great. So you got the most serious projects, even if they have their flaws, are the ones with the most maximalists. And those coins, incidentally, are BCH, Monero, BTC, and ETH, probably in that order. So the reason that the BCH and the XMR community are beefing a bit is because, especially XMR, it's so attractive to people who have a very disagreeable personality. Like, as you can see, they have all these accounts with people with like 1,200 followers or something, and just anybody who tries to talk to them, even from their own sphere of influence, or something, instantly it's roasting and who's not the real serious privacy advocates and blah, 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 blah. Like Naomi Brockwell getting absolutely flamed, even though she's in the 0.01% of the world that is trying to, support their mission. So they just have such a binary kind of community like that, and it's sort of a bit doomed in some senses, I think, to stay fairly niche. And ironically, they actually like it like that, where they think, oh, it's better if it's just for the few hardcore. It's like anything. There will always be some people who want to do their hobby or their whatever in their exact specific way, and kind of the point is actually to keep everyone else out of the clubhouse. Like they're not trying to make something with mass appeal, and that's kind of the niche Monero is in. So I'm not really too worried about that. Those people that, you know, they've already got the peer-to-peer cash kind of idea, and as adoption spreads and maybe as we improve our privacy tooling a little bit, slowly one way or another they'll kind of trickle into the BCH ecosystem. So I think you should be friendly to them as much as possible, but also, I mean, if they're just being assholes and like combative for the sake of it, it just reminds me a lot of like teenage male energy, to be honest. There's a lot of that whenever I'm talking to any of these XMR people. Is just really, it's like, you are the kind of person, which is fair enough, you know, who is, you know, ultra paranoid and probably, quite combative, and any small thing you just like dig your heels in, and that's the end of the discussion because your emotions have been set regardless of any logic or discussion, you know, from that point. So I think that kind of covers that. And then on the BTC side, it's kind of a bit the similar case, but it's really more about you know, we need to not infiltrate is not exactly the right word, but it's kind of the right word, which is that I encourage everybody, if you find some of those BTC accounts that you think they're making some semi-decent points, you should follow them. And I've been doing the same as Cheap Lightning and following a few of them. And then you just comment in here or there. Sometimes you get a zinger in, sometimes you make a, you know, legitimate, genuine point and all that. And it just, because the way that we win is that the communities merge a little bit, and it will kind of get lost in the chaos, right? We don't necessarily need a sharp distinction between like the BTC side and the BCH side. We're the smaller side, but we have the more powerful ideas. So it's actually to our benefit to be kind of circulating in the mix. And then at some point, the BTC people will start to clue in like, wait a second, that was actually, I've been hearing a lot about this whole like BCH, like maybe something's going on there. Maybe I should look into that. And obviously it takes a lot for them to get over their groupthink to, you know, switch sides. But there's sort of a gradually then suddenly tipping point where they're all talking amongst themselves. It's like, have you been hearing about that BCH? Yeah, I've been hearing a lot but what are those guys kind of, have you looked into that? I haven't looked into that, but you've kind of looked into it. And that, you know, hits a tipping point, right? So that's what we should be trying to do.
It can also be the whole, you said that? I said that. You know, they adopt the ideas without necessarily admitting anything, but it's like, yeah, sure, whatever, however you reach the point. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think so what we're sort of learning from all of these three coins here really is that you need to have a lot of maximalists, but you also need to have good community alignment. And that's where, you know, the BTC are running into troubles. Like XMR and BCH, they've got a lot of maximalists. They've also got a lot of alignment. So that's, at least at the moment. So that's going well. But the BTC bill, they've run out of alignment. Some people are still kind of trying to do P2P cash. Some people want to do drive chains. Some people want to do CTV. Some people want to do everything. Some people want to do nothing. And now Taproot wizards are kind of like rogue forces in there supporting random shit on a random day. So you have all of that happening at the same time. And that's where, and the question is BTC in that state because they're much bigger? Like if BCH or Monero was that size, would you naturally see more internal divisions forming? And if not, how can we grow while maintaining that same kind of alignment that we've got now? Because that will be the recipe for success. So that's what I think we should be trying to figure out amongst ourselves in advance of that becoming an issue.
That's a great point. Kind of like taking, for example, the concept and the reality of chip process, and just making sure that we keep paying attention and making sure it keeps working and so forth, and keep that up to date if we need to or whatever it is. And not only chip process, but yeah, just in general. That's a very good point. And also what you said about maximalism, that's something I hesitate to say, but I honestly totally agree with you, because back in the day, right, before crypto became kind of a casino, which is not necessarily bad per se, but before it became toxic and super hyper tribalist, um, being a maxi had a completely different meaning. It was more like what you were saying, right? A maxi was not a bad thing. It didn't mean being a toxic person. It meant just being somebody who's like, hey, we're going to do everything possible on this one network because network effects are really important. So we're going to build as much as we can on this one network and adopt as many technologies as we can that are safe and make sense onto this one network, and make the volume of this one network just absolutely enormous so that it competes with national fiat, because competing with other crypto is like crab bucket type stuff, right? So it's able to compete with national fiat. I think that's a totally valid thing, and that's why I think a lot of us are building on BCH, because we looked at the landscape and we said, you know what, this is the one that has a chance to win. Let's make this one win, because you can't do everything. You can't support everybody, and if you try to support every network and do everything, what you end up with is the lowest common denominator of those, which is not really going to get you very far. But I'm sure there's places where that makes sense. But a lot of us are that. We're maxis who want to maximize network effect. But then it got totally turned over into this toxic maxi caricature, which is real. It's not only a caricature, it's real, right? This whole like, my coin is the best in the world because it's my religion. It's like, okay, well, have fun. Like, there's no arguing with that. It's over. There's no discussion. It's not a productive, it's not a constructive way of thinking. It's just a reductive, um, kind of post facto. I have the most network effect, therefore this coin will forever be the best. It's like, no, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, I agree with you, but it's hard. We've kind of lost that point. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in and say goodbye to everyone. I have some errands I need to go on, but interesting discussion. And yes, I agree. As we grow, we will see more friction, and it's a very good thing if we can figure out how to make sure that we stay connected and make sure that we take into account the various like businesses, entrepreneurs, and people building our ecosystem in all the things we do, rather than getting isolated over time.
Yeah, and I think people get really a little bit lost, like you were saying about you can't please everyone, and that's the mindset we need to have because of this phenomenon where somebody who is really keen, like somebody who's on this space right now is listening in. Like I see loads of people that I know, like every day they're interested in BCH and they're keeping up with what's going on and blah, 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 right? So what you got to understand is that one person like that who is very connected, very involved, very dedicated to the project, putting in time, working on things, like that person is worth 100 or 1,000 times as much as somebody who doesn't really care in terms of, the network effect, right? Because they will become more connected to other people in the community, and they will also find more opportunities to use BCH, and they'll, contribute their skills towards projects in a meaningful way and all of that. So when we're talking about network effect, I think people try to look outwards. They think, oh, okay, we need to add more people at the edges, we need to get more people involved. And that's where, to some extent, commenting on like BTC threads can slowly seed the idea in their mind. But really, the way you build external network effect is by connecting the internal nodes more, like all the people who are already in the community, find them and collaborate with them and make something awesome, and then more people will be drawn into that, and they will quickly build heavily into the network effect, basically. So I think that's also something we should kind of be cognizant of. We're at the point where, yeah, we can win some arguments on Twitter. That's I'm doing that, so I think everybody should be doing that. I can't say not to do that, but I think it's really mostly about, success speaks for itself, right? And money speaks for itself too. Money talks. So as the more and more money and projects are flowing around in the BCH community, other people are going to notice, and I think they are noticing, and that's what's changing the whole narrative. We just don't realize it day by day. So yeah, I encourage everyone to put their energy there, really.
Awesome. Yeah, building up the core and the people who are gonna really make things happen and not just be watching from the sides. The another topic, cheap lightning. Are you still?
No,
Are
I'm
you
not.
still
I
here?
left.
The cat has wandered away. The yeah, that those were some of the topics. Another one was local adoption stuff. I was just thinking about talking about because uh yeah, I don't know how everybody sees local adoption, but I see it as this uh, very hard thing, like a very, very, very difficult thing that we don't yet have the network effect of like just being used as a means of exchange and so forth. No crypto does, none, zero, absolutely no crypto has the network effect to actually be used as a real means of exchange, like in a whole city or whatever, right? Um, but yeah, man, seeing those guys do local adoption in this very harsh, low network effect environment is. I used to just think, no, we shouldn't do that. But then I'm like, wow, we learn so much from doing it. There's things that we know that we absolutely would not have known if people hadn't worked so hard and tried to do it. And they've actually achieved success in some measures, right? In certain places and under certain conditions that BCH ecosystem has learned from. That very, very few uh, networks can say they've really learned anything about local adoption, but BCH has learned hard through the history, because a lot of the people we have were doing local adoption back before BCH existed, right? We've been working on local adoption since everything was just BTC. There was only BTC. And a lot of those people came over to BCH and have continued it and expanded it. Jomar is there. You guys have done a lot of work on that. And I know in the past I've kind of said, I'm not sure it's something we should be doing because we don't have network effect to do it yet. But the more I think about it and the more I watch people do it, I really appreciate and admire the effort, because we learn a lot from it and there has been some success. Jomar, do you have anything? I don't have anything particular to ask or say about it, but did you have any comments on the local adoption that you guys are doing?
I've got some thoughts.
Yeah, I think
Jomar's not
he's
gonna
taking a nap.
unmute.
It's siesta time.
Yeah, might have checked out. I've been working a little bit on this, similar ideas of local adoption, just where I'm at. I don't have any like local merchants or on board or anything, and I have been trying very vaguely to do that. I haven't put a big effort into it because I sort of feel like the online stuff you can reach more people more easily. But what I would say is that I think it's very valuable that we have a couple of hotspots working on these things, because they will be the test beds for then scaling out. You need one success case or two success cases, and then you can go to 200, right? There's a big difference between 0 and 2, and then not as much between 2 and 200. It's really just do more of what's working, right? So I'm very, very glad that we have teams putting huge efforts in on that, and that's going to pay enormous dividends over the long run. So we should keep up with that. But as regards that kind of thing, one way we could try and look at it, and I don't know whether anybody would be on board with this or not, is the sort of like the free state project type of model, where you say, okay, network effect is pretty critical, so why don't we actually all just move somewhere? Now, I don't think that's probably really that feasible for BCH, and it does create a sort of centralized risk in some sense that we could spend a ton of time and money and hassle everybody uprooting their life to do it, and then get there and like discover there was some problem, and it could all be a huge waste. So I don't know how feasible that is. But if you set that aside, in terms of individually spreading local adoption, my strategy at the moment is, because I just have like a couple of mates, obviously, and if you can get into any kind of sort of local hobby or interest group or anything, could be anything, could be painting, or so for me, I'm doing bachata dancing classes, or it could be music or anything just sort of cultural or hobby based. then what you can do is obviously you build up, a few friends there, and then whoever is the most open-minded to it, you give them some BCH, and then you give someone else some BCH, and someone else some BCH, and then when they say like, oh, okay, so where can I spend that? You can say, oh, so-and-so who, yeah, you know them, and you know them, and they know me, like, yeah, you can just spend it with them. And tends to be a lot of transactions around that kind of thing, like people buying each other a drink at the bar, or people paying for their classes, or whatever. And in that way, you've just seeded just a small amount of it. And incidentally, while you're doing that, several, other people will be within earshot or whatever, and they'll kind of think, oh, I'm not really sure what this is, but something's going on here. And then that's just preparing the ground. So then when there's a spike of interest or there's something, then everybody's like, oh, what is this? How can I get involved? So I think that's a very easy thing that you can do just while you're already, living your life and doing whatever activities you'd regularly do. So that's how I say we should approach that, outside the dedicated onboarding teams.
Right, within your own personal networks, like just where people are interested in it, you can find a way to use it. Yeah. There was
but being strategic, right? Thinking about not just like, oh, I have
okay.
My aunt and also my third cousin and my mate that I see from school. Like, no, forget about that. Pick one little area of life where you can see already there is a socially connected graph, like your local band or whatever it is, and then go to that. Find one person, get them on board with it. Once they already know you, get to know them, then give them some BCH. Then find somebody who knows you and knows them in that same place, and make them the second one, and then the third one, and then suggest that they trade with each other. And if they're both like, oh, this is kind of cool and fun, then they will kind of start to do it a little bit, and then that's how you build up network effect.
Smart call. Yeah. Okay. Nice. There was another angle to it, which I don't know if it's helpful or not, but when I went to Townsville, right, we've been there several times, and each time we've gone, it's been more and more useful. Like we could use Bitcoin Cash to live more and more. So the last time General Protocols went there, we didn't use Australian dollars basically at all the whole time we were there. There was one or two things we had to do with Australian dollars, but like the living space, food, all the general things that we did was all done in Bitcoin Cash. It was pretty amazing. And Jason and the Townsville guys, Jason's in the audience here. He gave me an opportunity to talk at a thing that they had, at an event that they had. It was this very nice kind of outdoors event. Everybody was enjoying the weather. It was very beautiful. And the one point I really tried to get across to the people there, because it wasn't just Bitcoin Cash people, right? There was just a bunch of random people. And I was like, hey, you really need to appreciate that these guys are busting their ass to make this available to you so that you will be in a better position than anyone else in the world to stand up and resist and have an option, have a viable option when CBDCs start to get shoved down your throat. I was like, it's coming. It's going to happen. They're going to be shoved down your throat. And you are one of the few people in the world who will have an actual viable alternative to that. So, man, I really appreciate, what everybody who's doing any kind of strategic local adoption, or like Townsville, we're doing this pretty massive local adoption, and Tacloban City in Philippines, where they're doing something similar, trying to get a lot of merchants. Just appreciate all the work everybody's doing. And I hope the people who live there will appreciate it also. I think they will in the future.
In our case here in Tacloban, we are planning. We are not just onboarding the merchants and then have them accept BCH. It's part of a bigger plan actually that we in the future actually in the pretty soon. I just can't put an exact date, but we are launching a marketplace, an online marketplace where all these merchants that are onboarded will have an easy way to list their products, and then people can order this online and have this delivered and we built all the, the systems, the apps, including the rider apps, the delivery rider apps, app run, and to make it work, so that we can compete with services like Food Panda or Grab Food, because that's very common here, and they charge huge fees. Like they have big margins, like up to 30-40% of the price that you see in the app. And because we are using BCH for the payments, we can significantly cut down on the margins, like up to like 10%. So instead of 40%, down to 10%. And from our calculations, we can still be profitable. We can still scale this service. And so the idea is that we keep discovering these kinds of services where if we use BCH, we can cut down on the payments processing, on fraud prevention. We will not spend on anything like that. And from this, we will be able to compete with services on this front, and thereby offer value to people. So that when we convince people to use BCH, we don't even need to talk about like freeing yourself from government control or freedom from fiat. We just need to talk about the savings that they can get from using our service. So that's like the overall approach that we have been cooking here, and I hope it's gonna work. Uh, and I thank everyone for the support we're getting.
Yeah, good call on you guys. The only proven way is to help people save or make money. It's hard to do much else beyond that. So yeah, good call. That's what we need, right? Proven businesses that can earn a profit and help their users and their customers. And BCH becomes just an incidental thing, which is the whole plan, right? It's just money. It's not supposed to be at the center of any of the pictures, right? It's supposed to be in the background and just used to facilitate commerce. So fantastic. I love to see it. Hey, Noreen, I invited Noreen onto the stage. Yeah, you're welcome to talk, Noreen. What's up?
Yeah, hello everyone. Good morning.
Hey.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good day. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, that's good. I think I've been listening for a while. Yeah, a lot of discussions going on. It's amazing. I think I just have a few things to say, one or two. Yeah, regarding the maximalist stuff that you guys were talking earlier, and then maybe a little bit about some local adoptions. So I think one thing is that our focus over time, being in the community, is yeah, it's good to the whole replies we do to maybe let's say BTC maximalists or the people who hate BCH out there. Yeah, it's a good thing, but I think I just learned over time is that some of these hates just come naturally. Do you understand? Because they feel, yeah, they know that what we have works better than what they do, or what we are doing works actually better than what they have. So it's just like a natural hate. Sometimes even some person, they know the truth. Someone will definitely know, okay, this is the truth, but then he has already made up his mind that here he doesn't like you, so you can't change your mind. So I just feel like, yeah, uh I just focus my energy on the people that actually don't know what I'm doing. So like I put my energy towards them, because there are a lot of billions people out there that have no idea what Bitcoin Cash is. So I just feel like, yeah, let's focus our energy more, because anybody who is on maybe any other crypto out there, BTC, whatever it is, he knows that Bitcoin Cash works. That's just the truth. So most of them, yes, don't actually have idea, because maybe they are kind of, they don't have maybe updated information regarding the community. But then, so for a lot of people out there, in the crypto space that have been trying out cryptos, they know that, yeah, Bitcoin Cash works. So I think it's good what you guys do. I've been saying, cheap lightning, and then Jeremy, all the banters on Twitter. Yeah, it's good. At least let's keep it. Yes, let them know that, yes, Bitcoin Cash also active. But I think we can focus our energy more on people out there on Twitter, on other social medias that have no idea what Bitcoin Cash is, and also they have no idea how awesome tools we have and things we do in the community. So I think it's best. Like even me currently right now, I have a friend who is a very BTC maximalist. Do you understand? Like every time we sit down and talk on reasonable things, like he's always impressed on how because he's very like deep into our works. I don't know. I'll share his profile. He's because he checks out all our toolings, all our work. Recently, the work on Cash Script I shared with him, he was like, okay, this is awesome. Like he has no idea Bitcoin Cash does this and does that. So like we sit down on a kind of a informative level. We share information. Okay, this is what they are doing and this is what they're doing. Sometimes yes, we need to like learn one or two stuff from them. Do you understand? Yeah, there are a lot of things that probably how they are doing it we can copy. Example, I've seen a project which they recently did and the outcome was awesome. It's a project where they are trying to, like, let's say, bring in more builders to the BTC community, and that project was awesome because kind of the strategy they used. Do you understand? The strategy was they used was awesome, like, because currently now I can say they have more than, I think, 35 startups from those programs. Those 35 startups are now building solutions on BTC, which is awesome because they have, like, all the funds, and then this is like from the Jack Dorsey funds, which is like about, is it 500 BTC? Yeah, which he gave to the fund. So if you see all these strategies, I think if you can copy them, replicate those things on Bitcoin Cash, definitely it's gonna be a success because we all have what we need. The people are there, the resources are there. So I think that's just it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Narain. And I love how everybody who came on here had a different approach. And
Yeah.
if we had a single company that owned the chain, or a single group that owned the chain and made all the decisions, none of this experimentation would be going on, right? There would be one
Yeah.
strategy
And,
and that's it. But I love how
and,
we have 10 different strategies going, and it's our maybe greatest strength and also greatest weakness, but
yeah,
I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
I think it's our greatest strength and also our greatest weakness in some kind of way, right? But okay, there's also this thing that I'm trying to experiment, because like this year I was like, okay, let me see how I can possibly use all the connections I have and then put Bitcoin Cash on the bigger map. Do you understand what I mean by the bigger map? Is, okay, represent Bitcoin Cash, show up where other people are showing up, show up as, okay, I'm a Bitcoin Cash fan, I'm a Bitcoin Cash advocate. Do you understand? Tell them about Bitcoin Cash. I think throughout this year, that's what we have been doing. Like, I take the opportunity of everywhere I get invited. You understand? Every big event, every big gathering, I show up, and then it has been pretty much a success because right now, I, like last week, I just came back from a gathering. I don't know if you've been seeing my Twitter. You've seen that part of what we've done, the Hope. There was an organization that is created in Nigeria, which is like Innovation Support Network. And then I was just sitting down, I got an email from them that, okay, you guys are doing awesome stuff. You understand? We understand the work you guys are doing, in the, crypto community, educating people about Bitcoin Cash. Okay, you guys should come and join us in this journey. I was like, okay, this is awesome because this is like, big stakeholders. This is where you get to see big people doing awesome stuff in the community, and we are being invited. So like they notice the effort we're doing, they notice the work. And last week we had an awesome meeting. You understand? It was awesome. I think if we have done some awesome collaborations and partnership. So I was like, okay, this is great. I think I just came back recently, and I checked my mail yesterday. I saw another invitation. Like there's gonna be like a stakeholder meeting. This is like with the government because we are building a solution. And I think there was one time that I recently told them that, okay, we are building a solution around remittances. You understand, with Bitcoin Cash. And I think I can drop the letter in the BCH chat on Twitter here, which you can see. I
Yeah,
don't know
sure.
where's. Yeah. So yeah, I'll check it and drop it later. I'll check the group. So you see, these are things that definitely what we do out there, it get noticed, and not even by just ordinary people. Like, okay, the top guys there out there, they know, okay, these guys are doing awesome stuff, and yeah. So I think by doing that, I think we can just put Bitcoin Cash on the map. Like, let's try, everybody, anywhere you are, anywhere in the country, any opportunity you get to see, you can put Bitcoin Cash on the big maps in the news. Do you understand? Like someone was saying, Bitcoin Cash is anti-hype. Definitely, we kind of are. But I think we just have to use that opportunity to just see how we can get people talking about Bitcoin Cash, get people to know. So recently, I'm also working on a kind of mini project that I think it's a partnership we got. So I'm writing about it very soon, and I'll be dropping it in for the community to see. So it's gonna be awesome because it's a partnership with Google Developers Group. I don't know if any one of you knows anything about Google Developers Group. So I think there are kind of a groups which they are in everywhere in the country. I don't know, every state. Just search Google Developers Group in your browser. You get to see how big the community is. It's a community by Google. So during this, I'm trying to see how we can get in more builders to the community. How we can, okay, guys, come and check out what Bitcoin Cash is all about. This Bitcoin Cash is open source. Come and build Bitcoin Cash. So that's the aim. So I'm gonna run this maybe through maybe September, October, November, December to see how many people are interested, because already people are interested, right? So I'm gonna see how many people are willing to come and build on Bitcoin Cash. What solutions can you build? So we'll try to see how we can give them the best mentorship and then the guidance. So like, let's create a kind of community of builders and see what we can do throughout maybe next year. So that's one of the goals. I think this is like a very good approach, and it's a very big opportunity. So I'm writing a lot of things about it. Maybe within the week I'm going to submit it, so you guys will see. So I think it's a good thing. Let's just take different approaches. Like, there are gonna be different approaches to this thing. Like I usually said, it's not always straight. So it's a kind of marathon. It's a step-by-step approach we need to take. But sometimes you do this, it will not work out. But you have to find a way that will do it better. So that's
Keep
just it.
trying, keep iterating and trying the next thing to find what works. Yeah. I look
Yeah.
forward to the building the Google developers turning into some kind of products. I would love to see some products and services come out of that. Okay, hey, I better wrap up. I'm running into my own time limits here, so we've done I think 2 hours and 20 minutes, pretty long. But I hope somebody enjoyed this extra hour of chatting and talking on different issues related to Bitcoin Cash ecosystem. And maybe we'll catch you next time and see how things go. Take care, everyone, and have a good morning, day, evening, whatever it is where you are.
Woogie boogie.
Woogie boogie. Take care. Whatever it was. Yeah.
Bye.
All right. See you all.
Goodbye.